see anyone. Hello and welcome to the Slippy Limpets video. Been a bit of a weird year for the weather so far. Normally I would have packed my lure kit away until January and been focusing on the cod, but with the weather being so mild and the seas being reasonably flat and calm, I thought, yeah, let's get out back on the rocks again. Today we are going to throw a float around and some LRF, and then maybe if I get bored of float fishing and the LRF's no good, then I'll get the heavier lures out. But I nearly didn't come out today. When I woke up, I'll check 3 forecasts. One of them said it was definitely going to rain all day. Another one said there was a high percentage of rain all day, and I think it was a Met Office said that there was only a 10% chance of rain after 11 o'clock, so I had a little bit of a lie in, and I've got here, and so far the Met Office is right. I do have my waterproofs just in case the rain comes, and then I'll have to start crawling around on these rocks because they are slippery. Yeah, I'm gonna get set up, get a float in just down here out of the swell and see what we can get. So I've got a Daiwa BG mag sealed 2,500 size with 12-pound Tars line or 0.6 PE Tars line Elite grade, 15-pound fluorocarbon leader, which I'm going to tie some more 15-pound line to and then attach my float to it. Battery locked, and then channel 16. Now I'm using a kit, I think I got it from Veals or Jerry Evans, I'm not sure, but if you've never used a float, they always come with really handy instructions and it's dead simple to do. So all I do, I've just followed these instructions, but basically you get your top bead, which prevents the stopper knot from sliding through, thread that through, weight. This again is quite chunky, I think it's 1 ounce. It's right at the top end of my casting weight for my rod, but that's alright because I'm not going to be chugging it very far. Then you get a bead, and that's to protect your knot. And then I actually already had a swivel tied up with a piece of line underneath it, so I'm just going to tie that on with a uni knot. You can go as many times as you want, but I'll only go 3 or 4 normally. Wet that, pull it down, make sure it's nice and tight, snip the tag off, take that home, and there you go, you've got a sliding weight system. Now the most important thing is to have a stopper knot, and this kit comes with a little elastic band in there which you just break bits off and tie around your line, and that controls the depth of the float. But since I already had one rigged up, I've actually got a little stopper knot here which is tied up with some power gum. I don't have any more power gum with me, so yeah, I'll be getting that elastic band out if I get snagged. And then I've got a short hook length which I'm going to tie my hook to. For bait, I'm just using some responsibly sourced cooked prawns which are ready to eat, which is handy in case I get hungry later. But I've got my prawn hooked on through the tail there, and I've got my stopper knot at about 2 rod length, trying to get as close to the bottom as possible, but I'll start off at that and then I can always move it later on. Yeah, and we're fishing. My float's wanting to move around in the swell and in the current, which is fine. All I'm doing is I've got the bail arm open. I'm just feeding out enough line. Just you don't want too much out, too slack, because then when it comes to striking on the fish, you'll miss it because there's too much slack. So it's just a case of keeping a nice little bow in the line and maybe off the water from the height that I'm fishing anyway, and letting the float do its thing. Yeah! Hey! I brought that in to add another fresh bait to it, and as soon as I hit the water, this nice little coalie took the bait. Miniature. Such a productive way of fishing. I've literally been fishing for about 3 minutes. Ideally you want it as close to the edge as possible because that's where all the fish are going to be living. Close to the edge and the bottom, sorry. Get in. Well, that just hit the water straight away. There was another little fish on, even smaller than the first one. I just went to wash my hand and that was it was away. I saw the float go down and I thought, yeah, that'll come back, but then when I wound in to check my bait, he was still there. So this is nuts. As soon as my float hits the water here, you can just see the fish are actually almost too small to bring this in. I can see it just going like that, gently. Or like not gently, but a sudden jerk, but not actually going down. And then, because these prawns are a little mushy, just getting whipped straight off my hook. So I'm going to give it another 10 minutes or so. Maybe on my bait elastic or prawn on, might give us a chance to get it amongst the bigger fish. Bait is getting stripped in no time of these little fish. I put 2 on before and it's just made no difference. I think I might give it another couple of casts and then get the lure kit out. Try a slightly different position. Bait's gone again, straight away. I've just whipped this one on gently with a bit of bait and elastic to help the bait last a little longer, and maybe a pollack or a cod or a wrasse or even a mackerel might come and get it instead of one of these little, coin a phrase from the southern videos I watch, bait stealers. We're talking about whiting rather than coalies. So depth wise I'm at 2.5 rod lengths now. I still haven't hit the bottom, so shows how deep it is, and the tide's rising quite a way. It's maybe an hour off high tide and it's quite a high big tide, so it's at least 4 meters, 5 meters in height. My rod's 2, so kind of gives you an idea of the depth that I'd want to fish at. One thing that having these coalies around does show is that there's no big predators at the minute anyway, else these guys wouldn't be out in the open water there, and there would be fish food for something bigger like a pollack or a cod. I must have caught the 2 biggest fish earlier. They were the only ones that big enough to pull the float down. It's got much deeper now. Yeah, still not on the bottom. My float was on the bottom on my ledge, and the float doesn't cock, it just sits upright. If you come into fish place for the first time and you're not sure how deep it is, then you can always plumb the depth with your float setup. Do everything except for tie the hook onto the hook length and cast out around where you want to go or fish. I tend to start reasonably shallow and then head deeper. Set it deeper and deeper and deeper until the float cocks. sorry, doesn't cock, it just lies on its side. And then from there, I'll normally give 2 or 3 cranks of the handle on my reel, and then throw that about there, and then tie the hook on, and you're good to go. Well, I think that's another fish on. Could be the biggest of the day. I had a bite to eat while my float trotted all the way around there. Oh yeah. Here we go. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to have one more cast that'll... Oh, take a seat here. One more cast. This guy took it. It's about 4 times the size of the previous ones. Do I have another cast or do I get the lures out? I brought my lure box down, so no, let's clip a metal on. No, actually, changed my mind. I'm going to have one last cast of this float. They're getting bigger. That might be too deep. Oh no. Oh god, it's deep over there as well. There must be a wrasse lurking around. Yeah, that's a better fish. So the bigger fish are hiding on the other side. There we go. That's it for the flow fishing for now. I want a bigger fish, so I've tied on a 28 gram razor claw silver minnow with a 3/0 single hook on. So I'm just going to launch this on as far as I can for a while, see if I can't find a cod or a pollack ideally, and then maybe we might get the LRF kit out because it's not windy. It's just the swells are pretty big at the minute. So yeah, let's see if we can get some more fish on the board, something bigger than those coolies. Last week was thick with mackerel, but it doesn't look like they're around anymore, not at the moment anyway. Well, said I wanted to get my pollack count up. Unfortunately the camera wasn't recording when I caught it, well, landed it, but it had to go once and then straight on the second go. It was really aggressive take. Did say I wanted to get the count up, but it's not the size, but check the colours out on that. Oh, it's a fish. It's not fighting. Maybe a codlin? Well, it's got a little bit of scrap in it. It might just be foul hooked. No, just a coalie. It's amazing the size of fish you can catch on a 3/0 hook. When that's hooked, you've got that hook right in its mouth. Well, the lure's doing pretty good. Normally, I mean, I know the float was pretty successful, but the lure's getting a bigger stamp of fish. Probably because I can get further out of it, but you never know. There's 2 species to the lure anyway. The tide's starting to drop now, so hopefully we're past slack water and it turns the fish on a bit. Well, that's the LRF set up, tied up. I'm going to trip this tiny little lure. This is 5 gram duo tetra with a minute little treble on. Cast this around on Orkney for the first time, and actually even the bigger fish quite like it, so you never know. Cast like a bomb as well. Rod I'm using's a Savage Gear light range fishing, or LRF, which is rated, it's an 8-foot rod rated to from 2 to 10 grams. It's great for fishing deeper water. It's capable of landing some canny fish. I've had, I think, pollack up to about 6 pounds on it, using 5-pound braid and a 6-pound leader. Just as I was saying that, something's hit it on the drop. Oh, go on, son. It's not actually a bad size. Whew. That was a mission. The second part of my net didn't unscrew, so it was a bit tricky to get them. Well, there we go. Little coalie on the LRF, cracking fun as always. Try and get him, keep a hold of it and get him back. Wait, just about to say, oh, go on. I'm going to pack this thing away and get the big lure out again, and then, because I'd had a load of casts and nothing. and then I got a hit. Another obliging coalie. Oh, that was lucky. So it turns out using a 4-meter net is quite tricky. When I was bringing the fish in, thought it was netted, but it was just the assist hook on the net, and then my braid rubbed against the barnacle and snapped, so the fish was hanging on the outside of the net by a little hook, and I thought, oh no, it's going to fall off. I'll get this back and tell the story. It was going to fall off with my lure as well. Probably the biggest one on the LRF so far. I held you that time, you little git. Alright, so that was a right calamity. Snapped about 4 meters of my braid off. That's where the lure was, and the fish was just hanging on the outside of the net. I think because the tide is in full flow now, we can see a real good strong current line moving from right to left. Couldn't reach it with a small kit, so I'm going to see if I can get out there again with the good old faithful razor claw. Surely there's a bigger fish lurking around in that current. That seal has been feeding out there, like, it's just out, I don't know if you can see that far on the camera, but it's just out of casting range. It's going backwards and forwards, and coming up with a fish every now and again. So there's definitely fish about, I just need to work out what they're biting. So apart from 2 coalies and a pollack on this metal, it's been really slow after that, so I'm going to try and hit that seal on the head with this last cast, and then it's time to get the slider out. Taking off the metal, put on a fish crazy sand eel, which are just deadly, so if that doesn't work, then the fish aren't biting today, that's for sure. The weather is not looking good. That's blowing this way. Well, that crazy eel brought no joy. Put on the old faithful slider shad with a 14-gram cheb. I can cast this a little bit further, and I'm going to fish it as slow as I can, as slow as my patience will allow. God, it's so dark. I think that's all the rain coming. Well, the slider's not really producing either. It's been a good afternoon all around, really. I'm glad that I chose the correct forecast, which was the Met Office over windy in the BBC. Else, if I'd used one of those, I would have stayed in the house. I don't mind, I've said it before, I don't mind getting wet, but it's nigh on impossible to get down to these places or even fish safely when the rock's soaking wet, because it's just like ice, even with studs on, because studs just give way without any notice, without any warning. Caught a few fish on the float and on the metals. LRF coolies are always great fun. Shame there was nothing bigger on the soft plastics or anything on soft plastics. Just one of those days, I think. The next video is definitely going to be from the beach. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video like I've enjoyed the day. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. Check out the Slippy merch as well in the link above, just up there somewhere. I'll say it again, tight lines. Oh, I got back in the car just in time. Just as the drizzle and pretty sure some heavy rain's coming. See you on the next one.